Hello, 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 and welcome, Smart CEOs. I am Kyra Rennell, the founder of the Smart CEO community and the managing consultant of the Kyra Company. We are a full service organizational development and operations management consulting firm. Our goal is to make sure that businesses, as they grow and propel, have absolutely all of the essentials that they need to ensure that their people are in the right place and on their team. The right people are on their team. The right processes are being followed daily to increase your efficiencies, and that you have the profitability that you've imagined, forecast, and planned in your business so that you can actually do the work that you've been called to do every day. So, what I'm excited to bring to you today, as you all, some may know, some may realize, some stuff I just haven't even shared. But listen, I spend a lot of time at trade shows and at conferences. That is a big part of how the Kyra Company gets the visibility we need on a national basis. And our goal at that point is to really connect with the corporations and the small businesses that we can provide direct services for, that we can partner with, that we can collaborate with, and for some, those that we can simply join forces with and share more information with you with. And so we're looking always for vendors and partners and suppliers and collaborators and corporations that understand the journey of small business, the journey of supplier development, and the journey that we take every day so that we can do much more and make greater impact. Now, that's our sales strategy. So you're like, Kyra, that's pretty deep for a sales strategy. Listen, gone are the days of, doing house calls. I've never been a salesperson, like one-to-one knocking on doors. I don't know if I've ever told the story about my first and early days in entrepreneurship, where not only was I starting a consulting firm, but I decided I wanted to also learn and become an insurance agent. And I got my insurance license and I could sell insurance. And as a part of our training for the organization that I got my license through, we literally had to do cold calls, like on the phone, cold calls with the script. And I'm going to tell you now, not my jam. And then on top of that, there were days where we had to go out in teams, door to door, in territories. Again, not my jam. And let me tell you why I was challenged by that process. Now, I did it. I got conversions. I got the callbacks. I understood how to maneuver and manage gatekeepers and things like that from a sales perspective. But one of the things I learned very quickly, especially in my 20 plus years in corporate America, is that relationships are how you actually build and grow. And so I spent a lot of time in my corporate years. I remember I traveled from floor to floor, getting to know who I needed to know in each department so that I could get things done, not only for myself and my customers, but for my team members, my colleagues, my partners. I've just always been this relational person that leveraged relationship capital to move the needle. And too young to know it at that time, wiser enough to know my strategy as I've moved through, the process of coming out of corporate America proper, meaning sitting at a desk on someone's payroll as a W-2 employee every single day assigned to, a profit or a cost center. But then now inside of the organization that I've had the pleasure of running for the last 10 years, understanding how critically important it is to understand how to communicate with your ideal clients, how to connect with your ideal partners, how to share the value that you bring to the market every day in a way that speaks their language. I can tell you that was a hard turn for me, right? Having to speak to multiple audiences at one time. The greatest reckoning moment that I had with that as we were going through the sales process was in my early days. I was working with my mentor and she was hosting a conference. And for whatever reason, I was the I was the mentee that got picked on during this particular session. Get up and pitch us, Kyra. Tell us about your business. And at that moment, as I stood from that round table and where I had kind of a safe space, right? Another 5 people there, we were all working together. And now I'm standing up in this room full of, I don't know, maybe 100, 150 people. And they're looking back at me, all eyes. as I stand at this microphone to pitch. The one thing I could not sort out in my brain is, how do I talk to corporations that I know need us, and then talk to small businesses that I know need us? And so I spent my time during that pitch dialogue trying to talk to both of them in like this layered pitch. And I remember my mentor at the time just like shutting me down. What are you doing? Nobody understands who you're talking to. Pick one and talk to them. And so from the table where my safe place was, I told you about those other 5 people sitting there. They were looking up at me, like writing things on cards, like, say this, do it like this, whispering answers to me. So I was trying to take in as much as I could just to hear key words and thoughts to just shift my approach. And I finally leaned into my own shoes essentially and said, listen, I'm struggling sharing the value that I bring because I want to make sure that corporation leaders hear me and that the business owners hear me. And I think one of the most important things that was said to me in that moment by my mentor is, they're all people. I don't know why in my head, if I was talking to someone at a major corporation, their logo was the only thing I saw on the forehead of the person I was talking to, and I had to speak their corporate jargon. In my mind, that was how I saw it. In her mind, she couldn't understand why I wasn't connecting the dots. She said, they're all people. They all just want to know they matter and that you understand what they need. And so I thought, how do I simplify that? Well, I know how to talk to a small business owner because I know those pain points. I can get straight to the emotional triggers that help them understand that these issues are not necessarily standard for operation. Excuse me. But then how do I do that through the lens of a corporate partner that needs to hear how I'm going to help solve their corporate issues that are systemic, perhaps in their division, their department, or perhaps systemic across the organization. And maybe that person is the catalyst for evoking change across their organization. They really want to drive success across supplier development, employee engagement, process design, and change management, or maybe even strategic planning. That I needed to be able to share, in my mind, I need to be able to share all the different areas that we could provide value so you could hear it in this, this 14-second elevator pitch, so to speak. And so the way that I came to, I will say, a distinct resolution on that was immersing myself in the environment, having many, many more conversations where in the agencies that I'm certified, whether it's in WeBank or HMSDC or NMSDC or the chambers of commerce that I'm a part of, or other professional entities, right? Having more of those conversations with suppliers that are just regular people that are doing an amazing job bringing suppliers and tier 1s and tier 2s into organizations about what they need. It became such a simplified understanding for me. I really broke barriers. And so I go from having these conversations in very secure, safe settings where I'm seeing these folks over and over again because I'm heavily invested in the agency that certified me, to now going to trade shows and conferences where these same people, right, are backed by these huge logos, and they want to hear the same thing. And so practice is what created I'll say the synchronicity in my engine that allowed me to be able to say the things I needed to say and share our value in a way that was meaningful across the board. That was critical. So now let's back that up. And so over the last 10 years, I don't know how many conferences I've attended. I don't know. I do know that I anchor my year with 2 major conferences, one that typically happens in the first portion of the year and one that happens in the second portion of the year. And I do that because that allows me to, one, if I'm making or creating new relationships with new corporate partners or my colleagues as small business owners, or small is relative, you all know that, but I mean in terms of suppliers, then what I'm doing, and pardon me, because this summer cold is getting me, guys, you got to just work with me, okay? I'm having that first conversation with them at the top of the year. And then depending on how our follow-up goes over the next 30, 60, 90 days, I'm now having another conversation with them at the end of the year. So whatever we didn't get done, we're closing that deal by the end of the year, so to speak. So from a time and investment perspective, those two anchor conferences are important and very much so strong areas of focus for us as a company. And so those conferences that I'm referencing are WeBank, which is for woman-owned certified businesses, and then the National Minority Supplier Development Council Conference. There are tons of conferences that happen in between, also the regional conferences and other conferences in cities where I have reciprocity based on my certifications that I attend. We'll call those kind of like your micro conferences that you're attending. And the reason why you do that is because you want to dig in deep in the regions you're growing. And so we have a growth strategy that includes kind of the Southwest and then up the Eastern Seaboard and then back over across the Midwest and then down a little bit further into Central US. And so why that's important is because our growth path, there are agencies and organizations that we want to make sure we're connecting with that are centralized in those areas, not to mention our far west work that we're doing as well. And so as we're working as a business coming out of our headquarters in Texas to really branch out across the US, these events and trade shows and conferences become really vital to our ability to communicate, connect, gain visibility, build relationships. Soon, you're not just talking to that person, across the booth or across the table. You're having dinner, you're having lunch, you're having sidebar conversations. You're on you're on the phone, you're texting. Now you've just really started to evolve the relationship capital that you have with what used to be for me major logos. They're now real people that I can learn from, customize and tailor my proposals to, and gain a better understanding of how to be more of value to them. They're more open to aligning me with their ecosystem and connecting me with their partners, inviting me to industry experiences and events. So now not only have I invested in these conferences, but now they're reinvesting in me and our firm and our business development strategy. So I just want you to hear that cycle so you'll understand why we spend the time and the money to attend these events. And you're probably not gonna get the bulk out of the first event. You're not gonna get the bulk of your return out of your first experience and engagement. And so for those of you that like quick turnarounds on your investment, that's not what this is. And I will tell you to pace yourself and trust the process and trust that you are refining and defining your value proposition with every conversation that you have. Find new ways to say it. And the more and greater your relationships become, ask them, hey, did that land for you? How can I say that in a better way that helps you move the needle on what we're trying to get done through your organization? And those are questions you want answered. All right, because I've banned the word push through in my community. So I'm not saying push through, but I am going to say I'm going to do my best to deliver in excellence today, despite my barrier to with this congestion that I have. Okay. All right. So just for the record, the words push through, push dash through as an action, as a verb, as an idea, that is officially banned from my ecosystem. So if you're in my ecosystem, we no longer push through anything. We don't. We just don't. We're going to find a better way to get what we need done without sacrificing ourselves. Total side note, but I think it's something you should know. All right, let's go. I'm excited to get into the deck with you. And if you've ever caught this, this workshop, we do this every year in the summer. This is our gift to you. It is trade show season. We've got big stuff coming up in the last portion of the year. We've had great stuff happen at the front end of the year. We've got micro events happening. And guess what? Aren't you excited? The Smart CEO Summit, September 12th, live in Houston. We are excited about our educational partner at Texas Women's University. We will be right there live on site. If you have never been to a Smart CEO event, you don't know that we are all about the action and the implementation. So get ready for all the smart CEOs, all the aspiring leaders, all of the growing leaders, the partners, the corporate partners that want to connect with beautifully brilliant suppliers. We will be in full effect on September 12th in Houston, Texas. There is a virtual option for those of you that are not in the greater Houston area and you can't get here by the 12th, but we want to make sure you know that we want you live and in the place. There are all kinds of, there's VIP breakfast that you can definitely get into. And we're thrilled about a special feature that we're bringing, which is a consumer packaged goods clinic that'll be happening in the afternoon on that day. This is a one-day summit this year. Everybody's asking me, how many days? How many days? We're doing it for one day this year. Does that mean we need to do it for a couple more days next year? Let's see. So come on out and join us. Make sure you get your seat at the table. Smart CEOs, you know, you raise your hand when it's time for you to be in the room. This is one of those moments. We're telling you, do not miss the Smart CEO Summit. It is going to be game changing for you. That's it. You'll see much more content on it, but I'm just telling you now, you heard it first from me. Before we go into this conference mastery, we're giving you the tools and the tips so that you can master the summit as well. All right, we're going to get into it. So let's go and talk about what we're going to learn today. So we're going to really get into the strategies of the conference and the trade show, like really understanding what it does take to craft a beautiful message, and to be able to really be on brand, create a meaningful connection. And beyond that, think a little bit further around the unforeseen challenges that you may face when you go to attend a conference. We're going to talk about the money. We're investing. How many people need to be there from your business? How do you need to attend? Should you be a vendor? Should you be an exhibitor? What information do you want access to? Do you want a backstage pass so you can see how all of it works and runs and meet the production team? Maybe that's your inroad. That gives you tons of access. And so I will tell you, the first trade show and exhibit that I did was in the greater Houston area, and it was a Black Enterprise conference. It was an entrepreneur summit, and I was petrified. But one of my colleagues, I called her and I said, okay, how should I do this? And she said to me, what do you want? And I said, I don't know. She said, well, if I were you, I would be an exhibitor. And that's going to give you access to the how and the infrastructure. It'll take the guesswork out of how you attend, what you need to know. You're going to be able to see it and understand it. That was game changing, right? We designed an incredible exhibit. We had lines at our exhibit booth. People were trying to figure out, what the heck do you all do? And why are people lined up? Why do we have appointments for the next morning? Because we came and we showed up ready. We were prepared and we were ready to share what the Kyra company offered. And business owners were hungry to understand what people, process, profitability was, what our big clarity bubble was all about, and what it meant to show up ready. So we delivered that. We did on-site strategy sessions. We had folks converting the clients in the seats. I mean, it was amazing. It was amazing. We converted new prime clients to our roster. Folks were bringing folks over to refer them to us in person. Like, the value was there. Preparation got us there, though. So let's talk about what it looks like for you. All right. So let's talk about why the conversion is important. And over time, you're going to understand, the conversation. You're going to understand why you need to be prepared, why you need to be over prepared almost for your next opportunity, because it's really about managing the experience. And for you, figuring out what your goals are. So if you know, like I know, we don't go anywhere without having a plan. And so the first thing I want you thinking about is, for your next conference, who do you need? What do you want? And what do you have to give? Think about what clients you're hoping to gain and add to your roster, who it is you need in terms of assets to add to your ecosystem, meaning suppliers, partners, new team members, new employees, influencers, mentors, right? Who do you need? And then what do you have to give? That's you being able to clearly articulate your value, and not just what your company can do, but then also think about what your ecosystem can do. Because no one wants you coming to the party without a dish, right? And so back in the day, you couldn't come to someone's house and greet them if they were the new neighbor on the street. without bringing some type of welcome gift. I know we might not do that now, but those were practices for building relationships. And so theoretically, I want you to use that concept and say, well, what am I bringing to this conference aside from my hunger and desire to gain new clients? Bring the value, bring your ecosystem, be thoughtful, be open to creative ways to create solutions that you might not even be thinking about. And I have a story I'll tell you all, but I'll get past this slide. But remind me someone to tell you about the day that I went to the wrong dinner on accident, which turned out to be like amazing. But let's talk about who will benefit from attending this, the conference and mastery trade show. So it's all about entrepreneurs. It's all about the professionals and the industry leaders that understand the value of the trade show, right? And really want to hone and define their skill set. That's what this is about. This session is about that. So if that's you, lock in. If you're catching the replay, lock in, take notes. It is important for you to understand and get your takeaways. And then this is really also about the value of the information being shared in this presentation. So not only am I giving you what I know to be like the hard and fast facts, but I'm also giving you the case studies, things that I've done, things that I've experienced, things that I've observed, right? I've definitely observed those really terrible pitches and thought to myself, I don't even want to follow up behind this person that just pitched this company. I need them to let that taste leave their mouth. And then I'll come back in a minute and circle back because I don't want to be the next person behind that. The contrast will be too stark. They won't remember me. They'll just remember it wasn't the same as that other person. And so, you know, I'm being funny, but I remember being at NASA and listening to someone pitch their business, and their hunger was so visible and palatable, which was good, but it wasn't good because their conversation, their value proposition was lost in their hunger. And I don't know if I can describe that any better, but it's just like they just threw everything out that they had without providing rhyme or reason, and really without even understanding what the organization that they were pitching to needed, right? So that's important. That's important. And I want you all to be thoughtful and be reflective. And if you see yourself in any of these scenarios, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to course correct. Don't be afraid to click a link and schedule an appointment saying, Kyra, how can I fine tune this? Because we want to make sure you have the tools. Now, I will tell you this. I am a proponent of, if I'm offering you a solution and I'm providing you with education, we definitely have the solutions to help you perfect yours. So don't you feel for 1 minute that this is the training and that's all you get. If you need time with us, our calendar is open, you know, and there are 30-minute time slots that cost you nothing other than the investment of your time, which is the most valuable, to have a conversation with us. That's just how we function as an organization, because small businesses are big businesses. All right, so let's get to it. The process. Setting clear goals, right? Learning how to set measurable and achievable goals for your conference and trade show success. It's as simple as saying, like I said, who do you need? Who do you need? What do you want? And what do you have to give? Let's talk about it. How many clients and what categories would you like to acquire? And the way you can go about that is take full advantage of the conference materials that they send to you, you know, in advance of the event. Take full advantage of the sponsor lists that you see on their website. Take full advantage of your access to LinkedIn to connect with the partners that are typically going to be at that event. And take full advantage of the apps that you are you're provided with if the conference has one. Most conferences have one, or some type of digital tool for you to follow along, take notes, and connect. Do not miss an opportunity to connect through the apps. Those app conversations, if you know, like I know, move them as fast as you can to your email or your text or your cell phone, your personal numbers or your business numbers, because those apps will go away. But get into the dialogue. Get into the dialogue. I'll tell you, this happened. I was going to a conference in Detroit called the Summit. Excuse me. And before that conference, like I was just working, 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 moving up to this point. I knew the summit was going to be the start of this like long streak of travel for me. So I was just working, 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 trying to get ready for this stint of time where I wasn't going to be able to be as dedicated and to my desk, right? And I got a message, my very first message in my on the app for this conference. And the young man that messaged me, it was very simple, just said, I'm going to hopefully we'll connect. I'd never attended this conference. I was stepping out on what I call risk and opportunity, and I leveraged it. And so it wasn't until the second day I went into a session that I wanted to go into for the second generation of Coke organization. And Chase Coke was up front speaking, and I was kind of tiptoeing in because I was a little late. My colleague and I, and sat on the row, looked down the row. Lo and behold, the gentleman from the app was right there beside me. And so we looked at each other. We had a kind of a spark, and said, "Hey, how are you?" And just immediately just solidified, "Hey, I see you, you see me, not the time to talk. Let's figure out when we can connect," because that was his request. "Let's connect. I'd love to learn more about what you do." So we really didn't get a chance to do it until the last day. Why that initial connection was important is because I had intentions to make sure that whoever that was intentional enough to reach out to me, and was my first communication, that I'm going to make sure I find this person at the conference. Well, as the serendipitous moment would have it, that happened. And not only that, but then we ended up in a micro session later that evening. And then that person asked me, "Hey, are you open to grabbing brunch before we catch our flights?" And I was like, "Let's do it." So then we were able to actually have a dedicated conversation. That person has now met my team, had a second conversation with me, is in the process of preparing a proposal for services that we may be able to collaborate on. And why I say that is because that person seized a moment using the app so that we could connect. And for me, if someone has an answer to a question that I have, or an answer to a need that I have, and they're willing to be proactive and bring it, I'm here for it all day long. Let's hear it. Let's see what it is. Even if it scares me a little bit, let's figure out if we can bring it into our organization to make it better. That's the journey. So set those clear goals. Understand how many clients you're seeking to convert, who you're seeking to convert. That will help you maneuver exhibit trade show floors a lot more efficiently. If you have kind of a list, an attack list, so to speak, who are the top 10, the top 7, whatever it is that you want to hit, go to them first. That way, if you don't get through them on the first pass, the second day, you already know you're starting with them at the top of the list. Make your notes, get what you need to get done, and follow up with them within the next, I would say, 5 to 7 days post event. Never, I'm going to say never, but I almost never say never. So never, almost, but it is not to your advantage to follow up while the event is still going on. Now, what you can do is schedule your emails, your follow-up emails to go out. And I typically give them, if let's say the event's going to go up until a weekend or a Friday, I'm not hitting their inbox until Wednesday or Thursday. Typically, Wednesday is a sweet spot. And the reason why is because I need them to get past all the work stuff, all the other folks that were super zealous and got in that inbox early before they cycle back through all those folks. I want to be fresh on Wednesday morning when they come in, right? And that's my strategy. So if everybody's going to be fresh on Wednesday morning now, I guess I got to be fresh on Thursday morning. But the point is, I want to be that top of the line email that they're seeing. I want my subject line to be catchy. I'm also going to give them back what we talked about, that I'm going to create the bullets. I know I'm going to get to that part, but I'm just telling you, clear paths. Understand what you're going into that conversation for. Once you get it, make specific notes so that when you follow up, you have what you need. And then crafting that brand message, understanding your value. What are you bringing to the table? Depending on who I'm talking to, I may be talking about corporate supplier engagement initiatives, and how we can help suppliers within corporations evolve and grow and create more stability, bandwidth, capability, capacity to do more of the work that corporations need them to do. Why is that of interest to corporations? Because guess what? That means that you can help us add headcount, add support, add expertise in a more agile way to our supplier development process. I sure can. And then I can also help you build programs to help support your suppliers. And if you have some community outreach tied to that, we can provide you with solutions to help you do that. I give them examples of road shows and other supplier engagement and how we create even niche or niche experiences to evolve your supplier pool in a way that creates more value to your divisions, your service lines, um, your verticals, whatever and however whatever your language is in your organization. But we do that to create more value so they can see our value inside their organization, right? If I had an HR rep that says, hey, we're really looking to engage our team members and increase their overall engagement, what can you do? We're going to look at, I'm going to ask some very curious questions about what types of assessments and things of that nature they've already done, what they've learned about their employee workforce, and what's prompted them to want to take this step. And then I'm going to provide them with the value that we offer. Excuse me. And then the next thing, creating meaningful connections. And because I'm taking the time to have the conversation, you're reading the temperament. Excuse me. So when you're standing in front of someone that doesn't have patience. They're kind of fidgety, they're looking at their phone, they're antsy, they're trying to get you to a QR code as fast as you can. But if you can step back and kind of lean back on your right leg a little bit and have a conversation with them and rest in that moment, and they're locked in and they're maintaining eye contact, go for the kill. Go for the kill. Share your value, have a meaningful conversation, ask them, how long have you been with the organization? What are the things that you really love about the way that they do the work they do? How are you enjoying the conference? How is it benefiting your organization? What are you seeing? Get curious about them as well. They are people. Remember the first story I told about the fact that they're not logos, they're not buildings, they're people. They want to be heard, they want to be seen, and they want to be understood. Acknowledge them. Step back, rest in it, and start building that relationship in that moment if you can. I'm going to mute really quick. All right. The next thing is preparing for unforeseen challenges in conference and trade show management. Listen, let me just get you ahead of some basic things. Understand the dress code and the expectations. Know your tolerance level for your shoes, men and women. Understand what kind of time limit you have placed on yourself based on the shoe that you put on your foot. And I mean that because men and women, I've seen men and women hobbling out of events wishing that they made a better decision. And if you're at a convention center and you're walking and you're not in a hotel where you can go straight to your room, you've got a journey ahead of you. And if you're not prepared just on basic attire, that creates barrier number one. Another barrier, let's just say you're congested and you're kind of dealing with something like what I'm dealing with. Well, you don't want to be the person kind of shuffling and clearing your throat and sneezing in front of folks. So let's get that cold under control before you even get out of town. Or how about you get your rest, you take your emergency, you take your airborne, you take your vitamins, you get your workouts in, and you maintain a healthy, restful regimen so that you don't deal with moments like this. And I can tell you, coming out of about 6, maybe 8 weeks of travel up and down different climates across this nation and out of the country, this head cold, I mean, it was par for the course as far as I'm concerned. But I will say that I understand that, which means I take other precautions along the way. I just couldn't navigate this one any better than what I have. So this is the better side of it, though. All right, but anyway, what other challenges could you face? The registration. Oh, I thought I registered. You did not. Oh, now you've got an on-site registration fee. Those are things that hit you that you don't anticipate that could impact the way that you do the conference. And so think about that. Make sure you read the instructions. You've read the instructions and you understand what you paid for. Special events. Make sure you understand the tickets and how the tickets are being used. Make sure you fully understand the locations for conference events and activities. Those are things you should be thinking about. Here's an unforeseen that actually could be a delight. You're in the middle of a conference, someone walks up to you, hey, I'm going to this special event or this special mixer. Do you want to come along? Well, you didn't really prepare for that. And perhaps you may not be, in your most professional attire that day, or you decided to, kind of take some curves and you're not at your best. Well, now you've got to zip back to your room, refresh, come back, and then join this event. Prepared for the day for a level of excellence, no matter what environment or setting you're in. I'm just telling you because we do all kinds of things for a variety of reasons. And if you are one of those ladies that enjoys carrying a purse, a backpack, and all these other accessories that wear you down, be mindful of that. Maybe get down to one bag that you can put on your back and or over your shoulder that's not so heavy, that doesn't wear you down over time. After about 5 hours, 6 hours, you've got a lunch in there somewhere, on a trade show floor, you really can start to feel the lag. And I would say you'll have greater stamina, endurance, and agility if you're not weighed down by those basics. So that's just the stuff we can prepare for. Now, what happens when you kind of get to a place and you plan to be there, and maybe you're going to be an exhibitor and you're missing some of your key elements or items? Do you need to understand where the nearest print shop is? You need to understand how to quickly FedEx some things to yourself. Be prepared. If you're an exhibitor, go a day ahead. Do not go the day of the conference. Do not go the day of your setup. Go a day ahead. Please go a day ahead, because you never know what could happen. So don't plan to be the person coming in on that 6 a.m. flight, gonna set up, then go reset yourself and come back to the conference. You'll never live that down the entire conference experience. Not to mention, there'll be that one thing that you forgot that you can't respond to because it's too late and it's go time. That's a big one for you. If you are going to hire a team to set up your exhibit or to break it down, make sure you understand the terms, the times, and that they're on time and they're following the terms. Also very helpful, so you don't have to do a lot of that work and kind of take all of that materials and the goods back and ship them and all that good stuff. That's hard work. We did it one good time in Charlotte, and we recognized that, okay, everything gets shipped next time after hundreds of dollars of baggage fees, and this is how we're going to pack going forward. And so how do we pack smarter? How do we condense and combine? What are the essentials that we need? What can we get when we get there? What can we pre-ship to the hotel? What can we pre-ship to the exhibit address where they're receiving materials as the exhibitors? Utilize all of that. Planning ahead helps you do that without question. All right, basic unforeseens. Other things that you may not anticipate is, by all means, your friends and colleagues are there. Did you plan to create some time to bond and build on those relationships? Unforeseens that are delights. Plan on that. Plan on making time to build and bond. Don't pack all of every minute of your time. If you can avoid it, make sure you leave some room for the organic opportunities that come your way. All right, let's shift to the next. All right, as we're going through this process, listen, we're going to always be in a position where we're planning for success. So we're getting out of our comfort zone. We're planning ahead. I've shared that already. We're going to stay organized. I know you all want to know this trick. I'm going to tell it to you on how to stay organized when you're at a trade show, you're at a conference, and you're meeting so many people. How in the world do I keep up? And then, of course, we don't want to let the challenges overtake us. But I'm going to jump straight over to the organization. One of the things that I love about our chief of staff is that she is proactive. Let me tell you why she's proactive. One, that's her nature. Number two, because she knows at the end of the day, after the trade show and or the exhibit, the exhibition experience, those contacts, those follow-ups, those next steps are coming to her. And so I remember, I think we were in Nashville and we were debriefing. So when we travel together and she's attending, we debrief. And so we use our downtime, maybe that time between the events and dinner or whatever it is, or early that next morning, and we set our intentions for the next day, but we also recap on business cards, contacts, making sure we've all got everything accounted for. We put it in our system, in our CRM, and we put next steps. Now, when we're together, that works like a charm. When we're not together, she set me up so it can work like a charm. And so on both of my phones, and I am definitely a two phone kind of girl. So on both of my phones, I have our CRM, which is Monday.com. And I have basically a quick form where I can put in the lead information, with the lead capture, which is the organization's information, regardless of what category they fit. The contact information and next steps. I can also take a picture, upload any cards or documents that I have. That's one. The other tool that we use, depending on the setting and the time, is we use a digital card, an e-card. That e-card app allows me to not only, and I'm opening it, excuse me, to not only capture, not only share my information with a QR code, right? But it also allows me to directly text it to the person. Excuse me. It also allows me to email it to them. And I can also use Bluetooth to transfer it to them. The other thing that it does is it allows me to collect their data. And I will stand there beside them to make sure that they send their data back. Hey, so now allow it to, send your information right back. If they're using the same tool that I am, then there's an instant connection. And it not only goes to my email, but it then also goes to the app. If for whatever reason we're on the go and the person's like, hey, here's my card, connect, I can actually use the feature on this app, scan their card, it then creates a contact card. So now all of the contacts, excuse me, for that event during that date span are all grouped together, and we can look at them that way. And we can pull all of those folks, download them to our CRM. We'll download them to a spreadsheet, download them and upload them to our CRM, and also add them to our connection list. And so the reason why that's important for us is that I move around a lot, I travel a lot, so we can go by date and know, oh, I met this person at WeBank. I met this person at Essence. I met this person at WPO. I met this person at the WU conference. I met this person in Chicago. I met this person. I'm giving you these names so you guys can look this stuff up. I met this person at NMSDC. I met this person at our local WeBank or WBEA conference. I met this person at our local HMSDC conference. Oh, I was at the Chicago Business Opportunity Conference. Oh, I was at the golf tournament. And we can go by date. So if we need other references, we have them. Or if I want to go back to the organizer or one of my colleagues as a part of one of those organizations and say, hey, I met Jane Doe at this event. I didn't really connect the way I would like to. Can you assist me maybe with doing a soft or warm introduction? Here's what I'd like to discuss. Here's what we talked about, but I'd like to go further. And because I build relationships dynamically, that is an opportunity for us. Not only that, it's an opportunity for the chief of staff to say, hey, on such and such date, you met this person. Can you give me more reference? I'm not really sure what my next step is. Well, then I can go right into that event, and I typically have it. Another tip and another tool, if it's fast and furious and all you have are your notes on your phone, your digital notes on your phone, take the notes, take a picture of the person and their badge. Don't just take the badge. I can't tell you how many faceless badge pictures I have. I'm like, I don't know what this person looks like. So take the badge picture, but go back a little bit, capture their face. So now when you go to LinkedIn, you can make sure you got the right person. Just a note. Other tip, because sometimes remembering names is a challenge for me, I will not only take a picture with them, but I'll take a picture and I'll go, oh, I'll send it to you. And that helps us both solidify connection. Our photo, we know who's who. Send a text immediately. We're directly connected. Now we're locked in. We can move on to the next thing. And so there are different ways based on relationship intervals that you can do that connection, but be mindful of it. Not everyone wants to share their information, and you need to know who the right folks are for the share. And some are just simply not. Be mindful of that. Don't be intrusive. Be mindful. That's the organizational tip that I really wanted to share with you all. Make sure your CRM is geared up and ready to go. Typically, they all have apps. You can use it and leverage it on your phone, on the go, or on your iPad or whatever you're using. And then also make sure that you have a digital card of some sort, or your actual, maybe you have one of the cards that has the QR code on it. That's fine as well. But please, 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 please be ready and have those things on your home screen so you're not fumbling trying to find your camera to scan, trying to find the app. That 13 seconds is painful. Nobody wants to wait for that. Just be ready, flip the screen, let's go. All right. All right, moving on. Networking, networking, networking. Listen, that's like the reason why you're here. Face-to-face networking is like the essential component of meeting folks in business. The more you do to make a lasting and memorable impression by meeting someone in person, the better, right? And so the better. The virtuals work too, but if you can make that lasting impression, I can remember someone, maybe not even their name, but I'll tell them where we met, what their business is and or what their business challenge or opportunity is, or how they were making strides, because those are the details that lock into my brain. I don't know why I'm wired that way, but that is true. So when I network with someone or I have a conversation, I could not even remember who they are, but they start talking and I'll go, I know you. And now it's on because my brain's like searching the database to figure out the how and the who. And I'm like, I know you, and I know you from, right? Or I'll say, we had a deeper conversation about X. Those things resonate with me and they stick around. That person was memorable. And so those are the types of things and the impressions that you want to be able to leave and make with others. So don't negate that. Don't miss that. Don't overlook that. That is of value. That is important. And even better than that, that is what's going to create the longevity in your relationship building. So don't sleep on that. Okay, guys? Don't sleep on the value of relationship building. Build deep and build intentionally. If that means you got to do the other half of your list the next day because you spent time having 20-minute conversations, so be it. Those conversations you had are gonna pay off. Okay. So 90% of the reason why you're there is to make an impression. Be unforgettable. I am big on being consistent visibly. And so I look like my LinkedIn. I look like my graphics. I look like my brand. I look like my V card that they're going to get. Excuse me, my E card that they're going to get. I look like the person that I'm sharing with them. My language is consistent. If they log on to this session, they're going to hear language that sounds very similar when they talk to me. If they're on our website, if they're on any of our tools, they're downloading any of our training and in our development, and they hear my voice, they catch my tone, I'm consistent. That is important. I am going to be professional, even if it's a casual conference. I'm going to be professionally casual. That's just my style. It's my thing. It's how I show up. It makes me feel good. I feel like I'm on point. I feel strong, as I like to say. I ask people, do you feel strong? They're like, yeah, I feel strong. I can feel strong when I have on my blazer. My blazer is my superpower. And that's just my thing. I'll throw on some jeans. I'll throw on, some more casual shoes. But I'm definitely here for the polish. That's just who I am. So if I'm coming out, it's a trade show, it's an event, whatever it is, I'm going to have all of the essentials manicured and prepared. I'm going to show up on brand. I'm going to take the time to be on brand. I'm going to represent my organization. If I'm wearing branded material, branded apparel, whatever that is, it's going to be crisp. It's going to be sharp. It's going to be memorable, right? I'm not going to hide my logo underneath my blazer. I'm going to make sure you can see it. I want to make sure you know. And those are things that are important. Think about how many people meet on a regular basis. And I want you to think about how many of those folks they remember. Your job is to be unforgettable. Unforgettable. Be unforgettable. Be a little disruptive. Be a little outgoing. It's okay. Shine, shine, shine. You're amongst many. Your job is to shine. All right. Don't be shy. Connect richly, but shine. That is important. All right. Let's get down to the brass tacks. How you attend a conference matters. All right. It matters how you spend your money. It matters how you spend your time. It matters how much preparation you need. It matters how much pre work you need to do. All right. So, are you attending as an attendee, which is a regular general registration? You're going to do a couple of extra events, maybe go to the gala if they're having one, but you are an attendee. You are here for what they have, kind of customized and prepared in their run of show to receive. You are an attendee. You're going to network. You're going to go to the workshops. You're going to do your thing. You're going to have your wonderful conversations in the hallway and in passing, but you're an attendee. Also, another strategy is to volunteer. Now, let me give you a couple pointers. If you're going to volunteer, select your volunteer assignment early or have an early discussion about where you'd like to be. Make sure you're spending your time in a space that is going to add value to you and your business. Volunteering is smart if cash and revenue are a challenge. Be a thinker. Volunteering is smart if cash and revenue, if cash flow for this is a challenge for attending. Volunteering gives you access, insight, and you are a support to the attendees. You're a support to the exhibitors. You're a support to the corporates. You're a support to the organization throwing the event or hosting the event. Volunteering is a smart move. If your company offers an opportunity for you to volunteer and you want to expand your ecosystem, volunteering is a smart move. It is a brilliant way to be present, be connected, have dialogue, connect with the individuals. You have the same access for the most part, with the exception of the time that you're volunteering dedicated to a particular area to get the information you need. Now, if you're an exhibitor, I spoke about that already earlier. That gives you access, right? It does give you access. You may learn some connect with some small groups that are doing some of the same things you're doing. You may meet some industry partners. You just have something in common about that 10 by 10 or 20 by 13 space you have. That community of exhibitors becomes its own little ecosystem. Don't miss that. Or maybe you're going to be a speaker. And so coming up in one of the national conferences that I book in my year with, front and back, I'll be a speaker this year. And so going in as a speaker is different as well. Your speaker experience is different. The speaker journey is different. I will then have a different level of visibility to the participants and the attendees. I will be able to raise my intellectual capital. I'll be able to raise my brand visibility. I'll be able to raise my thought leadership capital and increase my influence amongst my peers and colleagues because I'll have that platform. Think about how you want to be seen and how you want to show up. So not only will I register for the event, do some of the special events, but I'll also have the speaker journey that I'll go on, which means the other fellow speakers, we're now in a community. Or be a sponsor. And you can be all of these things for some of the events, with the exception of maybe the volunteer, right? Because that's a little less interchangeable. But think about it. You could be a sponsor as well. Sponsors have a whole nother experience. I know there are things that I sponsor every year, and I may get to go a day early because of my sponsorship. I get other access. I may have upgrades to my experience because I'm a sponsor. But better than that, I am then connected to that organization year round. You know why? Because my sponsor dollars count and they'd like to see them come back the next year. So if I am sponsoring strategically, then the reciprocity is without saying. It's going to continue to perpetuate itself. I'm going to connect and I'm going to reap the ROI, the return on impact, and the return on my investment as a result of sponsoring wise or attending wise or volunteering wisely or being an exhibitor wisely, whatever it is. but I'm making a choice that feeds my strategic outcomes. Okay. All right. We're coming to the close. Don't you worry. But there's a lot that goes into this. All right. So we did some really basic math here on this next slide, and it's about maximizing your investment. Really basic math. So what's your conversion plan, right? So what do you need to acquire from for the conference to be a worthwhile investment? Question you need to answer. How will you manage the connections? I've just given you all kinds of tips, tools, and tricks. But what tools will you use and how will you follow up? I've just given you guys tons of insights on that. And then always find the primary storyteller. I will tell you, I did not do that this last conference I was at in New Orleans when I was at WeBank. I saw the camera. I didn't go to it. And I don't know why, but there was someone that was actively filming, and I didn't go to the conference camera to tell my story. And I kind of kicked myself after the fact because, of course, I never saw the camera again. But when you see that primary storyteller, go tell your story. That's what they're there for, to catch your snippets. What that does is lifts you to the organization. It also puts you in and on platforms that you may not know about or be a part of, because you're now a part of their marketing and their outreach for future events, maybe even recaps to their sponsors, what have you. But be a part of the journey. Don't shy away from the camera. Here's why: showing up ready, being on brand, being prepared, knowing your value, having a plan comes in handy. It comes in handy when the camera's rolling. They're asking you those questions. Be ready, be sharp, be agile, be ready to give them everything you have. That's going to make that moment even more special, because you took a moment to capture it and to actually allow them to record it. And make sure you've got somebody grabbing your camera and recording you, recording it. Like, the content is king. Share it. Give us more of that experience. I have gone live during conference ribbon cuttings where it's so loud you can't even hear me, but it kind of creates this disruptive nature to say, oh my God, don't you wish you were here? We were in Baltimore and they had a high school band doing the ribbon cutting at NMSDC, National Minority Supplier Development Conference. Council conference, and I remember like, oh, I'm going live. This is the perfect time. So I kind of act like I was getting in this like exclusive space, but you could still hear all the ruckus from the band. I'm like, you guys, the ribbon cutting is happening. The exhibit hall is about to open. It's about to be bananas. All the things that we want to do when we get in here, we got to get to it. The opportunities are right in front of us, right? How do I create that energy to give you a little taste of that conference and really inspire you to want to be in a place where you actually attend a conference and you enjoy it and you benefit from it and you get the ROI. I want that for you. And I will say, even that Baltimore conference, probably about maybe about 90 days, maybe 4 months after that conference, I got an email or a message in my LinkedIn inbox from someone that I met, and they wanted to engage. I hadn't really given them my true, pitch or my elevator pitch or what have you, but just enough to be memorable. We connected on LinkedIn and I was getting the messages, and the story is I was ignoring their messages. We laugh about that today, but I tell you what, they became one of our largest private clients on our roster in 2024. And I'm excited about that because we continue to build on that relationship and that journey. And so you never know. And that was from a pass through in a hallway, right? It was a pass through in a hallway. It was a hello, a connection. We talked for a moment and boom, on to the next thing until there was a need and it was sparked and I was memorable enough. And they searched back, we connected, and off, and now the rest, we'll call it history. But I think you should be prepared for that. So I will say, in terms of ROI for that conference, probably 100-fold. But let's go. And so let's think. Registration for a conference, somewhere typically around $1,200, could be less, plus hotel and transportation, perhaps another $1,000, could be more. Food, you've got to eat. Sometimes the conferences have food, lunch and breakfast or what have you built in. Take advantage of that if you want to manage your budget. If you have obligations outside of the event and you need to have lunch, and in this case, if there are two of you traveling, I take care of the meals for my team members and employees while we're traveling to make sure that they are well taken care of, their energy's up, and they continue to appreciate the journey we're on. And then what about your attire? Because I don't know about you, but I definitely go make sure I have the wardrobe that I want to have for that particular conference if there's a need to freshen it up or whatever I need to do. So all in all, I've spent about $3,600 just to attend the conference, right? And so that now becomes my initial ROI. I can tell you that's about average. It's somewhere between, I would say, 3, maybe closer to 5, depending on your experience. But it can get there. And by all means, if you have points and miles and all that kind of stuff, make sure you're leveraging that and leveraging your credit cards for their benefits. But I want you to be clear that ROI is your first line of defense and your first target. Okay, how do I recover that? And I'd like to 10x that, please. Right? How do I do that? And that should be your first objective when you're attending a conference. But do the math. Don't just spend the money. Don't just swipe the card. Understand what it costs you to be where you're going and what it costs you in time even to be present. All right. Now, kind of moving into the last space. I really just want to emphasize this again. I've already talked about this, but let's talk about the brand. So looking specifically at the Smart CEO brand, right? Our brand presence. Now, I'm typically leading with the Kyra Company logo when we're at conferences. So you're going to get to know TKC or the Kyra Company. But the Smart CEO brand, we are in love with our Smart CEO brand. You are a Smart CEO. So let's talk about brand identity. Let's talk about consistencies and things of that nature. Your company's personality is what sets you aside, right? And so how can people kind of get to understand that? They should be doing that through your brand presence, your brand identity. So if you have, a lapel pin or something that you can wear that reflects and projects that, take advantage of that. Do it. I've definitely stopped someone because they had on a lapel pin that I knew the colors, but I didn't understand what the lapel pin meant. And from that person and I have been on a journey of learning how we can collaborate together. We've submitted, I think, one RFP together, and they also attended as a +1 for me at that particular conference for an event. And they were brave enough to say, hey, do you have any more events that I should know about? Because it looks like you have some inroads that I don't. And so I was able to give them the one that I had. I didn't have another one. But my point is their lapel pin, their brand stood out to me. I asked a curious question just because that's my nature. And they answered it. And then we were able to connect and figure out what opportunities. I really was just curious about the lapel pin. I got all the other bonuses as a result. So brand awareness, being visible, becoming visible to your target audience is key. We talked about several different ways that you could do that, and being on brand and being polished and prepared is going to be one of your top steps that you could take. And then make sure that you are visible. Share on LinkedIn that you are attending the conference, whether it's before or after, or even during if you have the time. But share that information so people can say, oh, you're at the conference, I'll be there too. I have a client that did some pre-conference. We did an entire workshop with them around pre-conference planning. And they were going to an industry-specific conference, and they're like, hey, this is all the information I have. Here are the people I really want to talk to. These are the clients I want to convert. What should we do? We literally sat down and put the entire step together, wrote out a script. She sent an email. She got meetings set up in advance, or meetings set up while she was there, so she could make sure that she had those meetings without question already locked in, which is going to increase the quality of the experience that she's having. So now if she's taking someone along with her, which she did, that person can go take care of the low-hanging fruit. She's going to take care of the big fish that she's got in the water. And then create that brand loyalty. So loyal customers are key to the business growth and the sustainability of your organization. So learn how to build brand loyalty that creates long-term relationships. Get people invested. Help them understand the story behind your brand. My daughter always tells me that I have this wild affinity for small businesses. And she's like, Mom, we have more small business packaged products in our house, then we know what to do with. You are always supporting a small business. And I'm going to buy the candles. I'm going to buy the home goods. I'm going to buy at least one, kind of item of health and beauty. I'm going to buy a trinket. I'm going to invest in a service. I'm going to do it. And the reason why is because that's my ecosystem. I'm going to replenish my ecosystem because we make each other go. And so I understand the value of my transaction and the person coming behind me. So if I can inspire someone to make a purchase with someone because I'm doing it, I'd love to do that. That brings me joy. That brings me joy. Okay, we're going to move on to the next slide. All right, now we talked about overcoming challenges, right? But here's the thing. Create a checklist and a timeline for the conference planning. If you are watching this, if you are on our mailing list, if you just simply want it, we literally have a freemium for you. We have a conference planning checklist. We will attach it to this recording so you can just click the link and download it. Let me retract that. We will attach it to the lead magnet that you will click, put your information in, and then get your download. So that'll come out to you and be available on this post. So just stand by. We'll do that post recording. But I want you to know, of course, we have a tool for you. Of course, we have a link for you if you want to connect with us. But secure the meetings if you can. Get the sponsors, get the vendors in advance. Talk to them. Build the relationships. Start working now for the conference that's coming in October and November. Start working now for the conference that's coming in March, April, May. Kyra, so soon. It's called business development. Always be selling. Always be on the hunt. Always, always, always. Start now. Build a relationship. When you get to the conference, you don't have to work as hard. And knowing your audience is important. Make sure you pay attention to who you're talking to and pitch accordingly. We've talked about that. Don't be pushy. Don't be the awkward person. Don't overstay your welcome at a booth. If there's a line behind you, you're not the most important person in the line. Give what you need. They're watching also for whether or not you have kind of those social cues. Will you fit in our organization? Culturally, do you understand how to move and navigate with us? The folks you're talking to have the ability to influence whether or not you get past the gate. Okay. So be mindful of that. All right. And back at you again. We are excited to remind you that the summit is coming September 12th, right in the city of Houston. Don't miss us. We'll be in the medical center at the Texas Women's University. They are our educational partner. We will be on site. The Smart CEO 2025 Summit is happening September 12th. 9/12/25. Be in the place. The Smart CEO Summit is coming. We will have breakfast with the Smart CEOs. You all know that Chef Yo is the chef to the Smart CEOs. You also know we're coming hitting hard with the information, the education, and the insight. Come ready to get to work, right? This is a roll up your sleeves, bring your laptop, bring your iPad, bring your notebook, bring your team. We're getting to work, we're building businesses, and we're taking the excuses out of the process. And so we're focused on people, process, and profitability. We cannot wait for you to meet the experts that are going to be in the Smart CEO labs. You might know those as workshops. They're labs because we're getting in there and we're going to be cooking. And then also the CPG Clinic, an exclusive space for growing and emerging consumer packaged goods founders. We have something very special for you. So your registration, you'll be also, I've offered an opportunity to click the CPG link that'll be updated for you. You'll complete a form and we'll do your intake. Excuse me. We're excited about this, guys. Not only are we excited, but we are intentional. This year is in Houston. We're a national organization. Home gets it first, but we're moving around. So we don't want you to miss the Houston Summit that is happening September 12th, 2025, be in the place. This is not one of those moments where you want to guess around and decide whether or not this is the thing. Do you need to grow, develop, scale, connect, collaborate, and increase your profitability? Yes, 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 yes. Click the link, show up. Let's get to it. That's what we're doing at the summit. We're literally not taking any excuses. Some years ago, I remember creating a post that said, "Don't make excuses for your excuses. You sound silly. Why else? What else are you doing on the 12th that you are not going to be at the Smart CEO Summit?" I want to know. I want to know. I want to know. Until then, I am Kyra Rennell, the founder of the Smart CEO community. I am the founder and managing consultant for the Kyra Company, and myself and my fantastic production team, led by Kayla Richmond, my chief of staff. We want to say thank you, a huge thank you to the smart CEOs all over the nation that have tapped into this session, that have found themselves in a space where they can learn and grow with the smart CEOs, because that's what we do. The smart CEOs convene, and it's where the elite meet to grow and become better together. Our community is here for you. Our work is here for you. We're excited. Thank you so much. I see your comments. Can't wait to see you on September 12th. It is not to be missed. Let me just be very clear. And so we are thrilled to see you live in Houston. And, follow, stay close, get familiar, and kind of see where we're headed to next. We'll talk to you real soon. Until then, have an amazing day, everyone. Take care.